احنا شباب هاي سكول وجامعة ممكن ويمكن ينضم لينا كمان شوية من الجراديويتس. من فضلكم يعني أتمنى نفضل في هدوء، يعني دي حاجة مهمة قوي عشان كلنا نستفيد. لازم نفضل في هدوء، دي أول حاجة. احنا النهاردة بيباركنا دكتور جورج تدرس. أنا قدمته امبارح، طبعا انتوا ما كنتوش موجودين، كان عندنا سيشن مع الخدام. دكتور جورج تدرس هو دكتور كارديولوجيست موجود، عايش في أمريكا من مصر، وعايش في حتة اسمها مينيسوتا، وأسيستنت بروفيسور في الجامعة بتاعته، يعني طبيب يعني، وأسيستنت بروفيسور في الجامعة بتاعته مينيسوتا برضو. وهو خادم حلو قوي، وعامل كذا ديجري في الثيولوجي، أعتقد 3 ماستر ديجري، وبيحضر PhD في العهد القديم. هو رائع جدا، وليه يعني فيديوهات كتيرة موجودة على اليوتيوب، وعمل مؤتمرات كتيرة قوي، متخصص في الأبولوجيتكس. أنا الحقيقة يمكن لما قدمت امبارح فضلت أتكلم على الشهادات، بس أنا لاحظت حاجة تانية لينا إحنا كشباب. إحنا عايزين نكنترول الهدوء يا جماعة شوية. we have to control. ما حدش يتكلم طالما في سيشن، خلاص ما حدش يتكلم. والسيشن دي معموله لهاي سكول ويونيفرسيتي، فلو سمحتوا للاطفال لو عملت صوت، لا هو مش مكان اطفال خالص النهارده، عشان نعرف ناخد سيشن كويس. خدام وكبار وكلنا صغيرين، يعني نركز، لان العدد لما بيكتر وكل واحد بيتكلم على اللي جنبه او بيحس انها بسيطه ما بتبقاش بسيطه، فكلنا نكنترول اور سيلفز. انا الحاجه اللي عايز اقولها لكم انتوا كشباب، يعني ان انا مش بس عجبني ان هو عارف الابولوجيتكس لينا احنا الصغيرين. يعني انا ما بحبش امدح حد كده، بس يعني هيز موديل برضو لينا. يعني احنا نفسنا احنا نبقى يعني مع ربنا كده كلنا متفوقين، وكلنا حلوين في كل حاجه، نبقى في دراستنا متفوقين، وبنحب كنيستنا، وبنخدم ولادنا، وبنحب نخدم، ونفسنا نطلع خدام حلوين، ونفسنا نعرف اكتر، ونفسنا نعرف عن ربنا اكتر. فوان كان التوبيك صعب وعشان كده هو جاي يساعدنا فيه، انما في نفس الوقت احنا بنقول ايه، يعني لينا كلنا. انا ده اللي كنت حاسس بيه امبارح وانا بحضر سيشن الخدام. فالحقيقه فرصه حلوه قوي. دكتور جورج مش بسهوله هنعرف نجيبه كل شويه يعني، فخلينا نركز النهارده. بس احنا اصرينا ايه، ناخد وموضوع حلو هيتكلم عن الايفوليوشن. اعتقد كتير مننا في الجامعه وفي ثانوي عدوا بدوت، وهل يتعارض مع الكتاب المقدس ولا لا، والقصص دي بقى هو هيشرح. بس في نفس الوقت خلينا مركزين، ولو عندنا اسئله يعني بطريقه كده، يعني الخدام هيساعدونا، سواء نكتب ورق او نسال حسب ما نقدر نقعد. بس اهم حاجه ليتس كنترول الهدوء، يعني ده اهم حاجه علشان كلنا نقدر نستفيد. ميرسي خالص، اتفضل. ميرسي يا دكتور جورج. بسم الاب والابن والروح القدس الاله الواحد امين.
Good morning يا شباب. ازيكم؟ حلوين؟ طيب هم قالوا لي ان انا ممكن اتكلم انجلش براحتي، اوكي؟ متفقين؟ alright؟ لان انا I feel more comfortable to speak in English. alright؟ فاحنا we're okay with that. alright? And actually they told me that you guys actually prefer to have it in English. You actually process a lot more in English. So we're in agreement. Fair enough. We can. Okay. And we'll see. We'll be a bit biased to them, so we'll do it in English, but if there's something that needs further explanation, just tell me. It's like, hey George, can you go over this again? Okay? I'm actually going to try to avoid to overload too much, but at least we'll take it systematically, step by step. زي ما ابونا قال يعني some of you might ask is like, okay George, okay, you're a cardiologist, so what I do is actually really exciting. I kind of like my favorite part of my job, okay, is I like to shock people. You know when you get electricity and you kind of shock them and like they flip out? I love that. You know why? You're giving them a chance that maybe they live again. It's beautiful that God gave us that power, okay? That science is now that strong that we can, to some extent, help people, okay? But the reality is that sometimes people look at science, look at technology, look at medicine as all the creation and the invention of us as humans. God has no role in it. But it's totally beautiful and it's totally powerful when we take that science and that power and live it as people of God, as agents of God. It's a totally different thing. Over the years, I've been done with med school now for almost like 22 years, 23 years. But over the years, many questions came up. And trust me when I tell you, I struggled with a lot of these questions. I struggled with the Bible that I'm reading it. I've struggled with can I believe it? I struggled with science and what science is giving me. Science and information and knowledge was kind of power to me. And that made me sometimes doubt the power that was in the Bible. Okay? And always I pitted them against each other. It was almost like science and faith, like you see over here. Are they really contradicting? But over many years, and especially as I started to have kids, my oldest is about the same as you. Actually, my son is 18. He just started college. Okay? And then I've got a daughter who's 15. So I've got 2 kids that were just in high school within the last year. Now one of them is in college. My daughter is 10th grade. And then I've got my youngest son who's 8th grade. So the reality is that when we were as a family talking, we usually had a lot of good discussions. We usually talked a lot about evolution. I'm assuming that all of you have been taught in some way or another evolution at school, right? Okay. Before going into a little bit of details, because in the next 1 or 2 hours as we're sitting together, I don't think I'm going to be able to solve all the problems of evolution for you. But I want to give you, like Abuna said, at least some fundamentals, okay? Some fundamentals as a starting point. And then from those fundamentals, we can then ask questions, and then you can build on top of that. My quest for searching of an answer started when I was in your age, and I'm now almost, I just turned 46. So it's taking me almost 20 years of my life and more, okay? 20 years of my life and more just to find an answer. And I don't think I found an answer. But you know what's the funny thing? The more I searched with God, the more I wanted to know more. The more I searched for an answer, the more it kind of just drew me into him, to learn more. So now let's go back to the question of evolution. I know that could be a bit irrelevant to some of you. It's you know what? Hey, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. To some others, it does bother them. And I found that Christian youth in general, or Coptic youth in general, they're one of usually 2 camps. 2 camps, okay? One camp, khalas, they gave up on the Bible. They gave up, okay? The science tells us this, okay? And we just take what science tells us and it's done deal. And another camp, they live kind of a bipolar life, like a schizophrenic life, okay? In our area, Monday to Friday, you're in college, you're in the school, you appease and you please the professor who tells you, is evolution correct? He's like, yeah, evolution, go for it. And then you go on Sunday to church, and Abuna is telling you, evolution is bad. Yeah, Abuna, evolution is bad. And and by some way, they're able to live in peace. What I call compartmentalization of faith. You've compartmentalized, you've made it compartments. There is a compartment that you function in on your days of school, and there's another compartment when you go to church, okay, as if you switch on something, and all of a sudden you have a different set of beliefs. That's not sustainable. That's not logical. That's not actually even good for your potential. Okay? So one thing I want to get out of this today is some sense of actually harmony. Why? Okay, and some of the slides are going to be like that, because truth is truth is truth. You cannot divide it. You cannot live a certain truth on one day and another truth on another day. That's not authentic. That's not genuine. That's not who I'm hoping that all of us who have the Spirit of God would be like. Okay? So we have to find some sort of way to process these 2 dichotomies. So, before we go ahead, what are some things that bother you, if at all, about this whole, what you've been taught in school several years about evolution? What has bothered you? Speak up. Yes. So it's imposed, okay? There's a lot of forcing, okay? Yes. What else? Yes. You're dumb. Yeah, you're dumb. Exactly. And you're harassed to the end. Totally agree. In the university, in the US, some students are kicked out from the class if they even object to that. Very true. What else? Yes. It's curriculum, so you have to. You're mandated to do it. What else? Yes. Okay. All right, so we're going to actually have to nuance this a little bit, because is it truly a contradiction, or is a contradiction an interpretation? Or is science trying to force something that is actually not necessarily like hands down true? Okay. We'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll have to discuss this quite a bit. But this is kind of, at least in the minimal sense, it's an apparent contradiction. Even if we can resolve it, it's apparent. There seems to be a contradiction. Excellent. What else? What else? Anyone around here? What bothers you about evolution? I'm hoping somebody to go a little bit deeper, because actually, and this is something, yes, you had your hand? Yeah, go. Yes, it's causing a split. You know what? Thank you for this, because you know what? In some churches, he said he's bothered, but people are bothered about it. So it's causing, churches and almost generations. There are some churches, not in the Coptic church, but there are some churches from our evangelical brothers and sisters where a split happened in the church. Some professors who, for example, adopted a certain interpretation, of evolution, and they had to be kicked out of the church. So it's a great point, because for us, we want some kind of a harmony. But when we can't reach that, that does bother. Thank you. Very, very insightful. So to move on, why is this a major issue? The issue about creation and evolution is one of the issues that is coming up as the front page. If you know the front page of like Times Magazine, when anyone wants to pit science against faith, wants to pit faith against reason, as if faith is dumb, is kind of anti-reason. When you believe in something, معناه انك انت لغيت عقلك. So a lot of young people who are going into universities, especially those who want to pursue a scientific career, are told, check out your brain, check out your faith, خلي عندك في البيت. But this conflict is making it to the front lines. It's very interesting, and I don't know if you guys in the back can see this chart, but it's a very interesting chart. So here they ask, these are Christian students, They ask them, do you believe that humans evolved God-guided process? So actually, there is an evolution, بس ربنا guided it, Humans evolved, God had no part in process. ولا حتى ربنا even له دخل خالص في خلقة الإنسان. أو ربنا created the humans in a present form within the last 10,000 years, which is kind of the most literal بالحرف interpretation of الكتاب المقدس. Look at this. هنا بقى is looking at a high school education, college graduate, عقبال ما تخلص الcollege, and then a postgraduate. Look at this. إن هو the God had no part. اللي هو like atheism. It almost threefold, 3 أضعاف. وهنا اللي هو God created went from 50% to 25%. As if إن هو education is dangerous. يعني احنا نروح نودي عيالنا يتعلموا. انت تخش من هنا الجامعة, you're going to end up with your postgraduate degree. Almost نص الناس have lost their faith in ربنا has even any role in this. طبعا الداتا دي is American data, بس يعني I think the problem is in all of us. But I find it very interesting. I call it the danger of education. It's like, I want my son, when my son was applying for colleges, I want him to go to the best college he gets into. But I'm aware of this problem. I know that this problem is there and it exists. طبعا, just like anything else, if anyone knows this guy, Richard Dawkins, I'm sure you might have seen him. Why is this becoming an issue? احنا طول عمرنا we have the idea or the understanding that science is objective, science is neutral, science is about facts, science is about evidence, If you don't have evidence, خلاص. But you find something very interesting. Science في الوقت الحالي is becoming very, very, very political. And science is becoming very influential. زي ما انت كنت قلتي ان هو forced. It's not forced بس انه عشان لانك انت when you think about it, science should never be forced. Science is something ان احنا نتناقش فيها مع بعض. اديني ادله وانا اديكي ادله. Why are they forcing it? Because science is now becoming a political tool for moral issues في المجتمع. Where moral issues in the society were judged at some point by the Bible. When we said, for example, abortion is wrong and abortion should not be allowed. Scientists who are more on the liberal, biological, natural side look at abortion, it's just a bunch of cells. That's it. فبالنسبة لهم, I want to attack faith. I want to attack any kind of religion. I want to attack anything that tells me otherwise. I want to attack any جهة that would tell me you cannot define your own moral value. فعشان كده يجي واحد زي Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins is considered like the most prominent atheist scientist. He's a biology professor of paleontology at Oxford. The guy is smart. The guy is very smart. But here's what's interesting about him. He knows a lot about his science, but he also speaks theologically. He speaks about faith. He speaks about politics. So he goes over, if I'm saying, a lot of his statements that he's making are political statements, are theological statements. And nobody questions him. Everyone comes and questions our faith, but nobody questions him. He said something very interesting. إن هو there are a lot of people انتوا بتقابلوهم في الجامعة وفي المدرسة. Even some of us هنا, what we call fence sitters. Fence sitters يعني انت في النص. You're sitting on the fence. ولا انت جوه ولا انت برا. فقال لك احنا it's our ان احنا to go to humorous ridicule. We should ridicule يعني نهزأ نمسح بيهم الأرض نهزأهم نستهزأ بيهم. Okay, so when we ridicule them, okay, to the religious moderates, to bully them into surrendering to atheism, I think that fence sitters are likely to be swayed by a display of naked contempt. Do you really believe that is the word of an objective scientist who wants to prove to you the existence of something by just evidence? No. There is a sort of an agenda here. Okay, there is a sort of agenda that just goes beyond the point of nikinti. I'm trying to prove to you a scientific theory. I'm trying to prove to you a scientific hypothesis. There is a certain contempt. Contempt اللي هو أنا بستقل بيكي أنا بكرهك أنا عايز إن أنا أقلل منك. But to do that, especially those are the fence sitters. Where do you see these fence sitters? You see them في الجامعة, you see them في الشغل, you see them في المدرسة. People who are like, you know what, مش فارق معاها. It's like, you know what, I could be swayed either way. فخلاص, who wants to be in the loser camp? Who wants to be like that? Especially when you're in في الجامعة. And I remember very well, this was actually one of the times when I really was started to get into this. I was in my residency training, my fellowship عشان أبقى دكتور قلب. And I was doing research at that time. That time was 2003. Was before the first George W. Bush election. طبعا انتوا عارفين هناك في أمريكا elections are some of the worst years. ليه؟ لأن كل قلة الأدب بتطلع في السنة دي ونحن عندنا السنة الجاية. Everyone is debating and debating back and forth. And usually, big part of the debate is moral issues and religious issues. عاملة زي مصر بالظبط. It doesn't differ. For 2004, at the first election of George W. Bush, the biggest question at that time for that debate was abortion. زي مثلا من 2-3 elections, the biggest question was gay marriage. Okay, back then 2003, it was abortion. Okay, then at that time they had the question of stem cell research. You guys know stem cells. So stem cells, you can get them. The most potent stem cells, you can get them from fetuses, okay, for fertilized embryos that are a baby, but if you implant it, it'll become a full baby. But a lot of scientists wanted to take those stem cells to use them. And at that time, I was working in the lab of one of the most prominent stem cell scientists in the world. She is one of the top. And a discussion came up at that time about abortion. I was shocked. The lady that was very nice, very scientific, very objective, very neutral with me throughout the whole time. The moment it فتح the question about abortion, you know what? She came out with her claws. Almost كلتني. And I was young. But I was very shaken. أنا اتخذت جامد. And why is she that vicious to attack me? Because of this. But I realized, and that's one of the things that he does. Why is this a major issue? First of all, because it's an area that every day we discover things. زي ما حضرتك بتقولي إن هم a lot of these discoveries. And as we're going to go a little bit later into details of the discoveries, every day there are some new challenges. بعد كده انتوا عاملين زي مثلا كل ما نهدى كده وناخد نفسنا ان احنا we resolve the issue. يطلع a new discovery. نبتدي من اول وجديد تاني. You see what I'm saying? It's not an issue that we can resolve once for all and we feel ان احنا عندنا answer, because every day there is new discoveries in this field. it's a very complex area. And this is بقى لما أنا ابتديت إن أنا to read about this. Initially, when I went into this area, I only went in it from a scientific standpoint. But I was very, very quickly drawn into the biblical studies. وبعد كده قلت biblical studies that يعني it's very easy and it should be interpreted very easy. اكتشفت إن في الانتربريتيشن بتاع biblical studies ده الناس بتعمل فيها يعني PhD thesis. So it's a very interesting part that actually involves biblical studies, linguistics. زي ما هنتكلم a little bit later. A big part of interpretation is how linguistically من الناحية اللغوية أنت بتترجم كلمة يوم. Okay? Where do you يعني أنت ممكن تقول يا جورج ما it's very simple يوم هو يوم هو يوم. أقول لك لا, it's not that simple. Because the linguistic definition of a term has a history. The linguistic definition of a term changes with the context. The linguistic definition or understanding of a term has a science. Okay, so you start to realize in how it's a very complex area. Science, philosophy, politics, ethics, morality. It's كل ده is coming to play. فبحيث إن there is no one person ممكن إن هو يلم بالموضوع ده. And that's one of the things بقى I hope I can get to all of you today. There's no way البابا, الأسقفة, أبونا, George, that one person is going to be able إن هو to gather this whole thing. What do we do about that? Each one of us needs to take their area of strength, their area of interest, what they like, and needs to start to research in it a little bit. When you research it, بنكمل بعض. Somebody's going to study it from science. We're going to have the scientist منكم. Somebody's going to be the biblical study. Somebody's going to be the theologian. Somebody's going to be the ethicist. اللي هيعمل الethics. All that comes together and makes a full picture. In one thing I'm going to tell you, احنا في آخر القعدة دي هنتفق على حاجات كتيرة جدا بس هنختلف على حاجات كتيرة. Okay? Why will that happen? Because we're human beings, we're limited. We have certain facts that we know, but we have certain limits to the details that we still do not know. We might know one day, but there are even some things مش هنقدر نعرفها. In general, I always tell people, be gracious and be humble. Be gracious and be humble. I have a very interesting drawing. There's no question that many different Christians in the big church, okay? So about the Catholic, the Protestant, the Orthodox, and even within the Orthodox family. I'm going to be very clear about what we believe, by the way. But in the same time, I want us to make sure we have an understanding with the big picture. If this is truth, if this is what we'll call, hypothetically, the box of a truth, this is you. Let's say this is you. This is what you believe, okay? You will find some people who will be overlapping معك, okay? And they'll overlap with you in a lot of the definitions. You'll find other people who are like actually very different عنك, but still within that big context of certain Christian teaching, okay? And you'll find others who are completely outside, okay? One thing I want to get to you, I really want to try to define this, okay? But in the same time, I want to make sure the others who are Christian, who are maybe have a different alternative interpretation of some of the details, okay? I won't be too quick أقول إن هم those are heretical. يمكن the way that I phrase it إن هم they have a non-traditional, non-conservative, non-orthodox way of interpretation. إنما هم برضو they still believe in God, they still believe in Christ, they still believe in salvation. Okay? For whatever reason, and we don't agree with the reasons that they have, okay? يعني مثلا our interpretation is not the same مثلا زي إخواننا الكاثوليك, okay? But still, at the end, their big circle or big square has a lot of fundamentals, okay? There are others who are completely outside of this, completely outside. Why do I say this? Why do I say this? لأن لما بنبقى في الجامعات, a lot of us feel إن إحنا هنا والعالم كله other, okay? And why do I say this? لأن مثلا باجي مثلا في بعض الجامعات when I find some believer students who are there, وانتم منكم actually أنا بسمع كتير منكم بيend up إن هو بيسافر يعني يوروب أو كندا أو أمريكا في الجامعات. I want to tell you this, very important. Do not ever feel إنك أنت you're isolated لوحدك وما فيش حد جنبك. Okay? يعني ما تبقوش كده ان هو حاسين ان هو العالم كله is against you. ليه بقى؟ because اخوك او اختك اللي هم الكاثوليك have fundamental beliefs that at least you can collaborate معاهم where the atheist has doesn't even have these beliefs. يعني اخوك الكاثوليكي والبروتستانتي ممكن ان هم ما يتفقوش معاك في الديتيلز بتاعه عمليه الخلق، بس believe ان هو ايه؟ ان ربنا خلق. فات ليست وانت في جامعه وزي ما انا سمعت من some of actually the parents ان هو they're feeling ان هم the kids are completely on their own isolated وكل اللي حواليهم are atheists we're very attacking very militant ف people feel ان هو ايه؟ لا ده انا ايه؟ انا اتخضيت. Feel strength ان احنا as a Christian community we share the fundamentals. ايه are these fundamentals? The fundamentals are these three. أنا ممكن نقعد كلنا نتخانق في الديتيلز ونختلف في الديتيلز. هو يوم 24 ساعة واليوم is a long period of time. Okay? We may never actually find exactly what it is لغاية لما نطلع السما. بس despite our disagreements in the details, we have to be sure of all these three things. Number one, God created all. عايز أزود كلمة هنا. God created all from a nothing. From nothing, مش even scratch, from nothing. بيسموه اللي هو ايه the dogma of creation ex nihilo اللي هو ايه from nothing. من العدم بالظبط. ف there was a starting point when I don't have time to go into this but it's very very simple. إن هو when people come and say يعني what makes me believe in God, I always say you know what, okay, what do we know about this universe just from science? What do we know? Was it eternal? Did it always exist? No? How do you know? What's the starting point? Big Bang? Okay, so who started the Big Bang? As far as I can tell, science has never given me a good answer. Science has given me a lot of theoretical answers. Science, even though the smartest of them, Stephen Hawking, has come up with a lot of theories to try to say what possibly started it, but there's not a shred of evidence for this. In fact, one of the things for a very long time, scientists did not want to admit the possibility in the universe had a beginning. Because if you admit the universe had a beginning, you have to admit that something began that beginning. Okay? What we call the unmoved mover. Okay? Something which is by العقل, okay? Somebody, okay, مش بقول إن هو ربنا, but somebody who has to be outside time and space, because if he's inside time and space, he would have been constrained by to have to begin. Okay, and he cannot begin himself. Nobody self-initiates or self-creates. فاللي بيخلق has to have criteria that are different from what I'm seeing. So who is outside time and outside space? هو ربنا. Let me finish those 3 points and then I'm actually going to take a break for questions. Okay? For number one, that God created all that we see, visible and invisible, from nothing. Number two, God created all for good. One of the biggest problems of evolution, okay, in here it makes everything a product of a chance. And chance is a randomness. And randomness فيها انك انت يا تطلع حلو يا تطلع وحش. That's a matter of chance. فانتو all of us are products of a chance. That's by evolutionary standards. Okay? Evolution tells you cannot guarantee the outcome. There is no way we would have said we would have become like this. عند ربنا, regardless of the mechanism that we decide at the end scientifically, لأن أنا لما decide على mechanism, I have to decide it from the scientific. يعني by the way, when I'm arguing against evolution, I'm not arguing against evolution only من ناحية الكتاب المقدس. I'm arguing scientifically. Okay? Because from the science itself, I'm arguing, is this a really hands down theory that absolutely proves? No, it has some drawbacks. And we have to argue it scientifically in addition to theologically and biblically. But in general, at the end of the day, the evolutionist believes in ربنا خلق, in the whole thing is a product of chance. It could have turned out really a nightmare and it was really bad. On the other side, when you look at God created all for a good. Number three, God created all for good to enjoy the relationship. This relationship ابتدت في تكوين ومش هتنتهي based على اللي احنا عارفينه من Revelation. Okay? Because in the evolutionist He tells you, who's your daddy? Well, the earth. Really? So أنا ابتديت من الأرث وهرجع للأرث ده where's the relationship؟ غير إن واحد يقول لك إنه ربنا يقول لك إيه؟ I created you on my image and likeness. صح؟ على صورة الله ومثاله. وأنا إيه؟ في يوم من الأيام سماء جديدة وأرض جديدة. And that relationship, okay, سنراه إيه كما إيه هو. We'll see him face to face. For the evolutionists, all these فاكرين اللي هو الرسمة دي؟ Okay? The other outside who's the atheist, like Richard Dawkins, استحالة إن واحدة من الثلاثة دول he will believe it. استحالة. Within اللي هو الثلاثة points دول اللي هم أنا بقول عليهم اللي هم this big frame, okay? I can tell you, all Christians believe in that. All Christians إيه؟ هو لما ريتشارد دوكنز يطلع يقول إن إيه Christianity سامحوني في الكلمة is dumb, okay? Christianity is stupid because they believe in this. 2.6 billion, أنا ما أعرفش التعداد اللي هو most dated big like this, but 2.6 billion people who have some of the smartest people in the whole world, okay? All agree على إيه على الثلاثة دول. They could have a little bit of disagreement or differ in the details inside, بس الثلاثة دول are fundamental to what they believe in. Let's take a break and do some questions, and then لأن الحتة اللي بعد كده is going to be a bit more scientific. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, just repeat it because in the back they can't hear you.
Hello. Okay. So if we go into this discussion and they go like, no, it has to be real, the Big Bang has to be real, and then we ask them, but who created? Some people can answer saying, well, why does someone have to create it? What do you answer saying?
It's a great question. Because there is something in philosophy, okay, called the principle of agency, okay? For something to happen, to initiate, you need a mind, okay? Because a mind makes a choice for something to happen, okay? If you take a chair like this and leave the chair in the middle, no matter what, that chair by itself will never move. What takes the chair to move? It takes actually a mind. I am a mind, because with my mind, I thought, I willed, okay, to move the chair, and then I acted physically upon the chair, and I ended up moving it. If you ask them, do you believe that the universe, based on our current scientific evidence, has a mind of itself to determine its actions and its movement from the Big Bang till now? It is not plausible, because it doesn't seem that the universe has a mind in of itself, an intrinsic mind. So then for the universe to have started is like the chair to have been moved. You have to have what's called an intelligent agent behind that, okay? That intelligent agent has to have some criteria, okay? He has to be, first of all, logic and reasonable, okay? Because he has to have a will على أساس إنه he's making these decisions. Number two, he has to be outside of the natural constraints of the universe, which means he has to be away or outside of a time and space. Because if he's within time and space and matter, يبقى هو part of the creation, okay? And he then cannot do it. How can you act when you're not even created yet? Okay? He has to have this criteria. Number three, he has to have the power to do this action. Okay? So if I take these criteria, I didn't even mention the name of God yet. I'm talking about in the Kinte, you have to have a supernatural, intelligent, willful, powerful agent. Okay? This idea of agency in philosophy, that's what it's called. زي اللي أنا عملته كده. Okay? All right? طيب لو I took these criteria and looked around, who's giving me answers to the characteristics of this agent? Okay? Atheists or scientists have nothing to say about this agent. Partly because they don't want to believe in this agent. Okay? But now I'm arguing philosophically, I'm not arguing from the Bible. You look at mysticism in Hinduism and Buddhism, Okay, they don't have a definition of an agent like this because a lot of them actually creation is an illusion. When you look at our faith, and here's what I'm telling you, I'm not giving it to you as an answer, in no way shoving it down your throat, okay, and say you got to accept this, okay? I'm telling you, think about how the Big Bang started and look at how physically it could start. Put the criteria for the person who can start it, and then compare what these criteria are with what the Bible and what faith tells you, okay? And you'll find that actually that this is who God is. God is a supernatural being. God is very logical. God is very willful. God is very powerful. God initiates. Okay? So, in some sense, when they tell you, well, why do we need somebody to start the universe? It is exactly like this. Okay? So that would be a way to start answering that. Yes, let me get the microphone to you because we've got a big crowd. If you maybe can come to the front a little bit because we need everyone to hear the questions.
Okay, I just want to clarify two things.
Yes.
The first thing that we talk about sciences, I think sciences is متغير.
Yes.
Not constant, so I can depend it on it for everything. Second thing, we talk last slide.
Yeah.
You talk about that we are Catholic and Protestant. But I need to also clarify something. Muslims, Jewish, have the same.
Excellent, yes.
So we cannot judge that if they are the same like us. We should be even in the fine details.
Yes.
We should be specific about clarifying everything as Orthodox, even to the last point. Not that means that we are, if we are agree for some points, that means that we should be the same and we should.
I agree with you 100%. And two things. Awalan, just your first comment is excellent, but the reality is that even though science is changing and you cannot put all your knowledge about science, we cannot doubt as parents and as servants that the wave of science in terms of evolutionary science is getting stronger and stronger. It does not mean that we blindly believe in it, but in the same time we cannot just ignore when our kids are being taught wave after wave with evidence after evidence. يعني أنا النهاردة يعني I know because there is a limit to how much they're going to be able to hear, but يمكن in the afternoon session with the university, whoever is actually interested in more details, scientific details, I'm going to show you scientific details. I have to be very honest with you. Some of this scientific details is very, very compelling and confusing. We have to برضو be able to look at that. There are gaps. There are actually huge gaps. And that's where the scientists actually make a leap of faith. They're actually making برضو assumptions. إن هم they believe in their answer جاوب كل حاجة. that's never true. فأنت كلام حضرتك صح. كلام حضرتك صح ان احنا ساينس بيتغير وساينس اكتر من انه بيتغير ساينس is still very deficient ساينس ناقص فازاي ابني المعرفه على حاجه ناقصه اوكي النقطة الثانية يمكن معلش برضه اللي عايز ارد عليها انا ليه ما بتكلم على نقطة اللي هو the big family انا بتكلم من وجهة نظر لما الولاد بيبقوا في الجامعة and they feel isolated وفيل ان هم attacked من كل الايثيست اتلموا حواليهم زي زي الدبان على على الحاجة الحلوة I want to give them a sense of a power إن إحنا مش إلا قليلة. That does not mean إن إحنا we define اللي إحنا فيه. أنت كلام حضرتك صح. It's very interesting actually. There is a lot of debate في الجامعات في الأمريكا about this whole idea of a creator. اللي أنت كلام حضرتك قلته إن هو المسلمين واليهود believe in the same idea. طب is this idea of a possible creator is a possibility even though إحنا مش قادرين نتفق على details. Okay? فالفكرين صح. Okay, الفكر الأول إن إحنا we are bigger than the atheists. In fact, when you look at the atheists in general, not more than maximum 2 to 4%, which is very interesting. You would think in the West that they would take a lot more. That's not more than 2 to 4% in the United States at least. Number two, we have to be paying attention to our details. فأحييك على الإيه على this comment. بس يعني I hope إنك أنت understand الإيه الفكرة الكبيرة اللي أنا بحاول أوضحها. Yes.
Can we get the next slide? So I'm not gonna debate on the first one, but I think a lot of the questions that come into my mind is, and I'm talking from an atheist point of view, how would you justify, and if you're gonna talk about this later, it's okay, but how are you justifying that God created all for good, for us to enjoy, in the middle of a world with tsunamis, with earthquakes, with a lot of evil? And wait, just because I don't want the answer of human has free will to create evil, because a lot of the evil can, if it's a tsunami, it's an earthquake which kills thousands of people, it's not human-made, it's actually God-made.
So I will save this. We had a full 2-hour lecture yesterday on this. هي متسجلة صح يا أبونا؟ متسجلة. Okay, and by the way, I touched base on this, the free will and the natural disaster. How do we interpret the natural disaster, which is not directly a moral problem? Okay, I touched base on this. فهي موجودة في التسجيل 2 hours with a lot of Q&A. Okay, all right. I can take one more question before we go on, عشان not to delay things too much. Can you argue Christianity or convince people of it with science, or can it only be argued with theology? It's a great question. So in some sense, if I understood you correctly, it is basically, can you defend Christianity by the use of science? Okay? Or you only argue it with theology? There are several strategies how you do that. Some people really try to take the biblical story and try to find almost like exact parallels between the biblical account and science. Okay? And they try to see things in it. That's one way, and there is a lot of parallel. But I think the biggest argument for Christianity in terms of science is that our God is a God of logic. In fact, the Son, the second hypostasis, what is his name? The E. Huh? Logos. What does logos mean? The word. What does word mean? Logic. Okay? It's very logical. It's very logical. And by the way, yesterday we had a very interesting discussion. One of the members of the group here asked a very simple question. The miracles of the Bible are not logical. And I said, no, you're mixing categories, because that's one thing you always get attacked by, is like, how can you believe in God when there's a lot of miracles in the Bible? Miracles are not illogical. Miracles define something that is beyond natural. Okay? So you've got nature, and then you've got something that is a supernatural, okay? But it is still logical. Something that is illogical is basically when I tell you that this universe that you're seeing currently is just an illusion. When I tell you that disease is an illusion, okay, as some Eastern mystical thoughts are. That's illogical. No, disease is not an illusion. I'm suffering because of that, okay? So when I, for example, and let me give you another analogy to make it easier. When you see a rocket that is made out of metal that weighs, 100 tons, okay? There's no way it can fly. When you see it flying, what do you conclude? Do you conclude that this is illogical? No, you ask, how did this happen? This is actually against nature. So then when you find out that there is a power and a force that has propelled this rocket to fly, okay? So what made this rock fly? Okay, there is a power that made it defy the rules of a nature or physics, right? But you don't really say it is illogical. So by the same question or the same parallel, the miracles, I cannot say that the miracles are illogical. The miracles are beyond nature. And if I believe, going back, because a lot of people ask the question, well, who really believes that that Jonah could have been, swallowed by a fish? Well, to me, actually, the issue is not a fish. I don't answer it by the fish. The issue is like, well, does God exist? And how do I prove God's existence? I don't prove God's existence from the story of Jonah. I prove God's existence from everything I'm seeing. I have no proof of Jonah's story other than what the Bible tells me. I cannot prove it to you. But I can look at what I'm living right now in the universe that I'm living right now and look at it and struggle with it and then come up with this, conclusion that this universe as I see it cannot start except through a supernatural agent, okay? And if I come and believe that this supernatural agent is there, سواء بقى قلت عليه إنه هو Yahweh, God, you name it, okay? This supernatural agent has the power to do miracles. اللي ابتدى الخلقة, whoever started the universe and the Big Bang, has the power to intervene in that universe. فكون إنه هو يعمل قصة Jonah is nothing for him. That's not the issue. But going back to that question, can I argue Christianity from science? Yes, there is a lot of parallels between Christianity and science. Okay. Number two, Christianity is a very logical religion, but also it's very supernatural. And there's no conflict between both of them. So philosophically, be a bit more critical. Miracles are not illogical. Okay? So let's finish this next part and then Abuna will take like a 5-minute break and then go to the next part عشان ما تتعبوش. So the question is that, George, why should we care about truth? Why should we care about this? I know مثلا out of the group over here, some of you are bothered by this whole question of evolution. Others, زي ما قلت إنه عملتوا compartmentalization. Sunday is for God, the rest of the week is for the world. Why should we care about truth? Well, we should. Number one, this is actually more important than the details, although صدقيني هنوصل للدetails. But sometimes I try to avoid the details because sometimes people, could care less about it. But whoever cares about the details, we're going to get into it. We're going to get to it. But I want to make sure you know at least the message of theology that is given there. Number one, regardless of the findings of science, for us, truth is a matter of identity. If I believe that I am a product of chance, if I believe that I'm a product of dust, if I believe that everything that is going to survive me as a body is just a matter of dust that is going to be stepped upon, I give myself the excuse to identify myself like that. Khalas, I will live like that. On the other side, if I believe that I am created by a loving God, if I believe that I was created in an image and likeness and an intelligence of a loving God, if I believe that God created me to relate to others, so I'm not only impacting my own identity, I'm impacting the identity of those around me. Because if I believe that you're only dust, I give myself the right to then crush you as dust. That's what abortion is. Abortion, for a lot of people that believe in abortion, they look at abortion as just a matter of unwanted bunch of cells. They're unwanted. So identity matters a lot. So even though the question of science may not bother you, but the question of your identity, who are you, is a fundamental question. And to me, that's more important than any details of science. The fact that faith is not against science, faith is very much with science, but faith is a person who believes in the Creator God, who believes that the Creator God is very logical and gave us this mind that is an amazing intelligence to discover and to find, so that when we find things at the end, we end up glorifying God and saying like, wow, this is very complex. Very complex. I'll give you a very simple example, and I don't think I have enough time to go over the details later. But when scientists say that, the genetic similarity between chimps, between apes, monkeys, and human beings are about 95%. I say, that's great, okay? 95% similar. What about the 5% difference? Can you explain that? Why aren't you guys looking? Why are you guys so focused on the 95% similarity? Why aren't you looking at the 5% difference? Because this 5% difference explains a huge gap between monkeys, and human beings, to the extent that one gene makes a huge difference. I'll give you an example. They found a family, I think it's in Scotland. That family had a problem that all the members of the family could not speak. They were all mute, all of them. So there was a genetic dominant mutation in the whole family that they couldn't speak. And they found that this gene was just one gene out of 20 genes that control speech. And there are about almost 20 genes that control speech. One gene was turned off and the person could not speak. You really try to tell me, okay, that like I'll put it this way, we are that vulnerable that one gene takes away something that is essential from us. And you want to tell me that all of it was a matter of chance? It is hard, and as I'm going to go in the next lecture, which is a little bit more scientific, that these facts are not scientifically sustainable. But what does that mean? That the fact that God, through the identity, gave us the the ability to talk. Okay? زي ما هو معلمنا يعقوب بيقول ايه باللسان ايه نعمل ايه باللسان ها can anyone help me نبارك الله وايه نلعن. Okay? So is the problem في اللسان, or is the problem in what I do with it? Is it the problem in my identity with what I've been given in that? So number one, it's a question of identity. Number two is a question of meaning. ودي كانت امبارح واتكلمنا عنها في موضوع الشر كتير. The meaning, okay, if I believe that I'm a bunch of dust and I came out of dust and I go to dust, when something bad happens to me, I always say, no, hey, tough luck. It just happens. It's a matter of biology. You got the mutation. I'm lucky I didn't. Tough luck for you. Good for me. Okay? But when something bad happens to somebody who has a certain kind of faith, he looks at it from a deeper perspective. So even the interpretation of our life carries a very different meaning depending on our philosophy. And last thing, a matter of destiny. All of you are young. All of you are looking at your future. All of you are aware of your choices in the future. All of you are looking for what's going to happen tomorrow. And I encourage you to look at this because your future is right ahead of you. But I want to tell you something else. There is something even beyond your future. Okay? There is something beyond the next 20, 30 years. Here's something that is very ironic. Each one of you has spent almost about 14 years to get into college. And then when you go into college, you spend between 4 to 8 years. To do what? To work for 40 years. Yet we all know inside ourselves that there's something called eternity that cannot even be measured beyond that. The amount of preparation and time that we put in to prepare for our life here is enormous. It's getting even bigger. My training as a physician to do what I'm doing between med school and training took me exactly 16 years. Just the medical. I'm not talking about grade school. It took me 16 years. Just to know I can do a job. So how does even that compare with eternity? But destiny is an issue. The reality is that for those of you who this issue is not an issue, or for those who are in colleges where this issue is like, why do you even bother me? Don't bother me. This is what I want to end this lecture with. There's something called Pascal's wager. Some of you must have heard about it, right? Who has heard about it? Good, okay. Who can explain to me Pascal's wager in a simple way to the group, and then I'm going to actually put it in a little bit of slides. Who can explain it to me? Who would have the courage and say, you know what, I'm going to stand up and explain Pascal's wager to this group? Huh? Is anyone willing? Okay, thank you. Stand up, Kade. All right. Just tell us your name and tell everyone what do you understand of Pascal's wager?
My name is Sandy, and Pascal's wager is a philosophical idea that I have basically 4 options. It's two options, and then I have for each option 2 possibilities, 2 outcomes. So the first option is that I believe in God. If I believe in God, there might be an eternity. If I believe in God and there's an eternity, so I win. So I believed in God and there's an eternity. I live in the good eternal life and it's great. But then if I believe in God and there is no eternity, then you don't really lose like a lot, but you have wasted time on earth, of course, and but that at the end of the day, you did not lose a lot, because the eternal life, if you believe in God that you will get, is more important than the eternal life you will lose if you believe in God and you did not get. The other option is that I do not believe in God. If I do not believe in God and there is an eternity, then I am a huge loser, because after I die, there is an eternity that I cannot belong to because I did not believe in God while I was alive. which is a non-eternal life, the non-eternal life on earth, you cannot compare it to the eternal life after death. But the fourth option is that I do not believe in God, and I do not believe in eternity, and there's no eternity, so I don't lose anything, and I also win. That's it.
Thank you. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. So Pascal's wager, which is exactly what she gave the four options, and I'm actually going to try to make it a little bit easier, okay? That basically, in terms, regardless of what you believe in or don't believe in, I'm not talking about what you believe in now. I'm talking actually about a possible truth. Possible truth is one of two things, okay? Based on what we're discussing right now. هي حاجة من الاثنين. يا في ربنا يا ما فيش ربنا. ولو في ربنا في eternity. لو ما فيش ربنا there's no eternity. Okay? These are facts. So now you have a choice. You're making, حتى هو باسكال قالها as a wager, as a gamble. أنت بتراهني. Okay? بتراهني. If you are putting a wager that basically إن هو ما فيش ربنا. ما فيش ربنا. Okay? You're saying ما فيش ربنا and I'm going هخش القبر وانا يعني راهنت 100% بحياتي ان ربنا مش موجود. Okay? حاجة من الاثنين هيحصل. You could be right. You could be right. وساعتها تكون يعني okay, you proved yourself right, بس طالما انك انت خلاص نهايتك كانت في التراب, who cares? Who cares? خلاص. يعني ولا انت survived ولا حد survived to prove anything من اللي انت كنت بتقول عليه. it doesn't really matter. But what if انك انت راهنتي ان مفيش ربنا وبعد كده طلع ان في ربنا? That's a big deal. That's a big deal. You have gambled 80 years, 90 years of your life for an eternity. Okay? In terms of gambling, that's actually anyone, and I don't gamble, but it looks like a really losing bid. What if in الحقيقة إن في ربنا? What if إن في ربنا? Okay? All right? Sorry. What if إن هو أنت you chose another choice? Now إحنا دلوقتي these are the facts. He or she chose. What if إنك أنت غيرتي رأيك؟ اسمك إيه؟ Amy? Okay. What if إن Amy غيرت رأيها وقالت you know what? I'm actually gonna gamble إن أنا أقول إن في ربنا. Okay? What if إن أنا gamble إن في ربنا? If the truth at the end إن ما فيش ربنا, هي ما خسرتش قوي لأن هي برضو لسه عايشة كويس and she's living well. يمكن اتأيدت بحاجات, أمنت بحاجات, اضطرت إنها تحضر العيد هنا, تصلي هنا. Okay? At the end of the day, especially لو فعلا طلع إن هو ما فيش ربنا, زي ما بقولك إن هو كلها ends up في التراب, ولا حد هيضرب الكلام ده. But what if إن هو طلع بجد إن في ربنا؟ اللي حصل عند إيمي ساعتها؟ كسبت a lot. So what is Pascal trying to say? In the downside of إنك أنت to bid إن ما فيش ربنا ويطلع ده actually غلط وإنه يطلع فيه ربنا is a huge loss. Huge loss. The downside of إنك أنت تقول إن في ربنا وفي الآخر يطلع جايز إن ما فيش ربنا is a small loss. طب لو أي إنسان عاقل, would you take a huge risk? Huge risk? Well, you'll take a small risk. For Pascal, actually, who's one of the greatest mathematicians of البشرية, he's the one who came out. He calculated this as a mathematical calculation. He calculated risk potentiality. طب دلوقتي بقى المشكلة بقى إن هو في a lot of people who are called agnostic. اللي هو بقول لك جورج ما تزنقنيش في الكورنر. I don't want to make a decision. ما تقعدش تقول لي بقى خد ريسك والكلام ده كله. I'm agnostic. في a lot of people who are feeling comfort إن هو أنا ما أعرفش, أنا مش عارف. ربنا ما اداليش God didn't give me a lot of proof. He didn't really يعني tell me what it is. As if إن هو they took off the responsibility from their shoulders. Okay? I always like to make an analogy, and this is really important. لأن a lot of you may not be agnostic. You are believers. بس بالنسبة لكم الموضوع ده is irrelevant. Created, evolved, مش فارقة. Okay, اللي فرق في الآخر؟ ما أنا بعيش حياتي. I'm living my life. I'm learning the couple of things. وبتعلم خلاص وهي ماشية. But I hope I told you from the beginning, it's a matter of identity. What you believe in is very important for how you behave and how you identify yourself. What you believe in determines how you treat others. What you believe in is how you are going to decide in society what is acceptable and not. You cannot just say إن أنا I'm agnostic, I don't want to decide. مش عايز إن أنا أتدخل. That's what happened, for example, at the time of voting on abortion and voting on gay marriage. A lot of people said, you know what, أنا مش عايز أتدخل في مشاكل. أنا مش بتاع مشاكل. أنا مش بتاع مشاكل. I'm agnostic. Okay, I'm not going to decide. And it was a problem. If people are not going to defend the validity of life, مين هيحمي the babies that are unborn? Because if you don't believe that that is an identity crisis, who's going to protect them? فأنا I always like to say اللي مستريح وعمال بيقول إن أنا agnostic حلوني وعفوني من الديسيجن is exactly the same as احنا عندنا في طبعا انتوا عندكمش انتوا الكلام ده، احنا عندنا بس الكلام ده snowstorms. Believe it. So I live in Minneapolis, which is على حدود Canada. Believe it or not, احنا النهارده almost نص أكتوبر. First snowfall عندنا في Minneapolis النهارده. Okay? بس هي هتسيح على طول. Okay? إنما there is a very interesting thing. People who go hiking. You guys like to hike? Okay? You like to hike. So we have a lot of people who like to go hiking on the mountains. Okay? And they go and hike on the mountains at time when snowstorms happen. Snowstorms happen. And snowstorms, لما بيجوا over there, أي حد كان على الجبال, you would know that snowstorms sometimes, when there is a lot of snow and there's a lot of wind, بيحصل sometimes حاجة اسمها an avalanche. An avalanche هو عبارة عن إن the snow اتكون بقى huge ball and it starts rolling down the mountain with the wind. When this avalanche happens, بيعمل زي الفيضانات اللي بتحصل sometimes في السعودية وتلاقي الناس اتجرفت وماتت. People die, like hikers who are on the mountain, okay? If they get caught in an avalanche, it's like a death sentence for them. I find this analogy very interesting. You are a hiker on the mountain and you get a radio call that there's a snowstorm coming, okay? And you have a way down to the camp. Okay, so this is a path. It's a matter of a destiny, صح? And all this destiny فيها كل حياتك. أنت حياتك وحياة يمكن الناس اللي معاك. Depending على choice, either إنك أنت you fall off to your death or you make it to the base camp safely. Okay, that's exactly the question of identity اللي أنا كنت بقولها. فهنا that was Pascal's wager. You know الagnostic عمل إيه؟ الagnostic قاعد فوق. Okay. قال لك انا ما اعرفش، انا مش عارف اذا كانت السكه دي اللي هتوديني على البيز كامب على الامان ولا السكه دي اللي صح. انا مش عارف اقرر، انا هقعد مكاني. طب هو قاعد مكانه وعمل ايه؟ الافلانش took him. So to be comfortable in our own ways and not decide doesn't solve the problem. You need to make a choice. Either you believe in ربنا خلق, either you believe in هو ربنا خلقنا لمجد, either you believe in في eternity or not. But it is a matter of destiny. خلينا at this point take a break. But I want to leave you with one quote. لما بيلاطس سأل المسيح what is truth? Pilatus he was sarcastic. كان بيسخر من المسيح. But believe it or not, that question that Pilate was asking is a very interesting question. Blaise Pascal said something. People almost invariably arrive at their beliefs not on the basis of proof, but on the basis of what they find attractive. What they find attractive. That's a problem. That could apply to us, but I hope at this point I've made a case for you that there is far more compelling evidence for us to believe that God is a creator, more so than just it's an attractive idea. No, it's a philosophical idea. It's scientifically valid from the Big Bang. It's scientifically valid from the complexity of what we see as human beings. At the end of the day, live that identity. Let's take a 5-10 minute break, and then the next one please كده صحصحوا كده وتنططوا شوية وكده get your brains refreshed, because we're going to talk a little bit about the evidence of evolution with and against evolution. Okay? خليكوا قاعدين.